Alright, this is Big Boss Foxhound Woodsball coming to you guys from Fort Lauderdale and from my blog page over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I'm also repping the guys over at Acid Tactical, so you can check them out at acidtactical.com. Anyway, this is going to be the second part of my three-part series. This time we're diving into another component that was popular in the 90s, well, late 80s, well into the early to mid 2000s. This is the LBV-88 Tactical Load Bearing Vest. This is part of what was called the Individual Integrated Fighting System, which was supposed to replace Alice, but became a supplemental piece and general phase out of the web gear system for tactical vests. But I digress on that one. I'll break down the history on that in a minute, but first, a word from our friends and sponsors over at Acid Tactical. You can check them out at acidtactical.com. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? We'll be back right after this.
Over the years, Acid Tactical has provided tactical equipment for all aspects of shooting sports, from paintball, airsoft, right down to our military personnel and law enforcement at a fraction of the cost for a name brand item. Our 550 cord slings are professionally made and built solid. They come in both single and 2-point configurations, and you can take our slings straight to hell and back and it will still keep working. It doesn't matter if you want to stand out or blend in. Our professionally made vinyl stencils are just the thing you need to allow you to create that perfect camo paint job or mix it up for a custom design of your own making. This is just a small sampling of the gear we have to offer at Acid Tactical. The market is flooded with tactical gear and accessories of all makes and models the world over. However, when the crap hits the fan, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? During the Vietnam War, Natick Army Research Labs was conducting studies about how soldiers wore their kit. This particularly was with U.S. Navy SEALs, but it would not be a surprising fact if they also looked at LRRP units, MACV-SOG, as well as their Cambodian, Montagnard, Laotian, or other allies that were working with them during the time. And you'd see the chest rigs made by CISO or stuff that they would capture off the NVA and the Viet Cong, especially when 30-round mags were coming out for the CAR-15 and M16. This led to the birth of the Individual Integrated Fighting System, with the base piece being the LBV, or Tactical Load Bearing Vest, adopted in 1988. This system was supposed to partially replace the Alice all-purpose lightweight individual carry equipment system. However, the vest utilized the belt, mag pouches, and other items, just gotten rid of the suspender part. Early experiments involving a rucksack and a patrol or an assault pack were carried out. As you can see from the picture right here, a system to attach it, very similar to the strap system of the Alice rucksacks that were becoming a big issue item for the troops back in the mid-70s, well into the 80s. Now, this system was proven to be not exactly the best system, and the way it was mounted, as you can see pictured right here, this was the fatal flaw to that particular system. A lot of the guys didn't like it, and for those versions of this that did make it out into the military units, They're mainly done as field trials by special forces or certain people. From those experiments, the LBV that we know today was standardized and sent to the troops by the early to mid 90s, and these things have had quite a history, with variants being made for grenade launchers and other things. This vest first saw combat with special forces, but you could also see these with other units in places like Grenada, Panama, during the 91 Gulf War, so on and so forth. Hell, these things even went into the early GWAT.
Okay, hopefully that video introduction wasn't too drawn out and boring. Yeah, if you guys know me personally, you watch my shit, you know I'm a big fan for military history, and I'm a sucker for anything Vietnam up to right now. So there is that. Now, as you can see, you got this thing loaded up, and I did it a little differently to give examples of certain things. Now, keep in mind, this vest was designed in the late 70s, well into the 80s. This stuff first saw action with U.S. Special Forces, so this thing definitely has a pedigree among a lot of the action movies of the late 80s, well into the early 2000s. Of this particular gear setup, this kind of vest setup was still used in the early days of the GWAT, even well into Iraqi freedom too. So let me pop up a couple pictures on that one just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, now that that's seen, now keep in mind, these things were originally designed to work with the M16, AR-15, that platform of weapon. Now, this pouch and this pouch would each carry two 30-round Stanag mags of 5.56 by 45 NATO. This one and this one here, which would be your inboard pouches, would each carry a single 30-round AR mag. The pouches here and here are your grenade pouches. Each one could comfortably hold a single M67 fragmentation grenade. However, their size does afford more versatile options. You could put a frickin' military issue compass in here. You could put a battle dressing. A lot of the airsoft guys would use it for a dead rag. And if you got a small radio, it works very well as well. As you can see in this particular pouch, I am running the Motorola Talkabout T5000. Small bow fangs of this size might be able to fit, so you might want to think about that when you're talking to radios. Now, your pouches. As I said about these things holding AR-15 mags, overall battle complement for this would be a basic infantry loadout, 6 magazines, not including the one in your weapon, and the second one if you're running 2 on a coupler, and 2 fragmentation grenades. However, because this stuff was designed to work with the Alice belt, as well as the canteen pouches, mag pouches, and those accoutrements, this actually helped supplement the Alice system overall in the end. So, however, for us as paintball players, we run 2 different types of weaponry. And I use the term weapon as a euphemism for our paintball markers. Hopper and magazines. Now, I was running this as a hopper-fed player when I was running my A5 at the time. Let me pop up a couple of those pictures right now. Yeah, that takes me back a good number of years. I think I also have the layout of how it was when I was running a Camelback on that one too. So yeah, that one was a little more ad hoc when I think about it, but I digress. Now, as you can see, I got the view loader pouch here that I used, got the tape on here. This one was perfect for dropping into the outboard pouches because this is a 75 round pod and this pouch can hold 2 AR mags. I was able to get this one in and comfortably get it to close with the snap and the Velcro. This particular one here is a view loader one. I got it with a pod pack about a year or two later. As you can see, definitely not the best idea, but I could also take this one here, which I did, and I could accommodate this particular pouch for the single AR-15 mag, but needless to say, it is a bit of a bitch getting these things in. So re-indexing this stuff was kind of a tricky question to do it, to get the thing down, but in the end I had to modify some Velcro over here to engage with the Velcro closure here, just so that way I have a cover over the pod. So that being said, now the pods were okay, but it had to be very particular pods in order to work right with the vest. Now, as a mag-fed player, as you can see, I got these hooks set up right here on, but because I can't get the pouches to fully close over the magazines, I just tucked them in on the inboard pouch here for this one. This one's a lot tighter, so this one would be like my quick go-to mag if I needed to. This one is a little looser, but same concept. This is good for a quick draw, but as a pro tip, if you guys want to run this particular vest with magazines, especially 20 round 68 caliber mags like here, I would seriously advise punching a hole in here and in the back of this vest, like right behind the pouches, and I'd run some shock cord on here and just do it like that to keep these things retained in here. Other than that, this wouldn't be a bad setup unless you modify it for that particular purpose. Moving on to the back. As you can see, set up with the canteens, got other items on here as well, such as magazine pouches. This is to demonstrate how this vest is set up to be very versatile for most combat needs. Now, the centerpiece is going to be the butt pack. This one is off my load bearing rig, my web gear that I usually run sometimes, but it wasn't made to work with this system the way it is, so I had to use these D-rings up here to hook into the D-rings on here and on here, so that way it supports the weight. later versions of the butt packs that would be coming out that were called the Field Training Pack would have straps that would integrate on here and tighten up so that way you could have it as a more secure fit. Other than that, this thing is still usable. If you don't want to use D-rings on here to keep the butt pack from flopping around too much, you could either fix it onto here because you got little points on here for additional Alice clips, or just mount it there or whatever. Then you got up here, you got additional points here for mounting additional Alice items here in the center and on the side. So I'd run comms wire through this part personally. That would be your best bet on this. So another Alice pouch on here for another radio or something, whatever you can think of. I ran a Camelback and I tried to integrate it into this vest. So let me find the picture on that one right now. Yeah, that was when I was getting away from the ACUs and going back to Woodland. So that was not exactly the best time for me in that regard. Now, keep in mind, I was running the Camelback with this thing, and it saved up room if I didn't want to run canteens. I was running canteens on a separate LBV setup. But moving on, you got the magazine pouches here. Now, this would, for mainline military guys, be using to put additional magazines in here, though some guys would opt to use this as a GP pouch too, or mini IFAC. Same would go with the saw pouch too on this thing. If you're running a saw gun, because the saw guns were designed also to work with AR mags, this would be kosher for a machine gunner setup as well. However, there are other variants of the LBV 88 out there, and I'm going to roll through a few of the other variants right now.
Okay, pictured here is the first pattern, LBV 88. This one is more or less a commercial model, but it's the same general idea of what the LBV 88 was. Later patterns would come out in woodland camouflage, as well as some solid colors on the commercial side. The one here is pure military, designed for the 40 by 46 millimeter grenades for the 203 M79. You get the idea. Then, because of the heat buildup issues, a mesh version with improvements to the ergonomics came out in 1995. This would be the one pictured here, the enhanced tactical load bearing vest, or enhanced LBV 88. Just to let you guys know, national stock numbers for both the original version and the enhanced version are going to be the same, so keep that one in mind. Then we have your custom jobs. If you know a guy that was a parachute rigger or anything like that, this is the kind of stuff that they'd be able to do. This one in particular was used by one of the guys from 9 Hole Review. I don't remember the guy's name, but he definitely has some cool shit going on. This one was the one he wore when they actually were doing a history on the MP5. I'd highly recommend you watch that one. And finally, we get to the creme de la creme of this one. It's last phase of evolution, which I'm going to be discussing.
Okay, we're at the final piece of the LBV 88 rundown. This is the final culmination of everything that the LBV 88 could have become. This is the Mali Medic 2 tactical vest. I don't know why they call this a medic vest. I've done a review on this before, but this thing is essentially everything that made the LBV 88 vest good as far as the integrated individual fighting system was concerned, but they actually made it into a Mali platform. As you can see, more straps, but you can definitely see how this thing has inspired a lot of other equipment from its design. This is was standard issue. As you can see, US was printed on here. You got clips on here on the back for adding butt packs, Alice clips, but it's lacking the rings. So if you need the rings for anything, I'd probably look for another vest or find ways to integrate this into the vest. This is supposed to work with the Molly system, the Molly rucksack, assault bags, stuff like that for a medic. But with how things worked out, the fighting load carrier, the Flick, became the successor for that. However, I would not be surprised if this particular vest design found its way into use with special operations, or guys are just taking LBV 88 vests in general, taking them down to their local tailors and doing some custom work to it. And with that being said, I've run through this so many goddamn times, everyone's probably sick of it, I get it, so I'll leave it here. This concludes our video on the integrated individual fighting system. If you guys like what you see, leave a comment, hit the like button, let the algorithm know this is the kind of shit you want to see. If you guys want to see the written version of this, check it out over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. Links will be posted in the description to this video. And finally, if you want to get some good stuff for your rifles, long guns, for your paintball, airsoft, real steel, you need Molly gear, check out my friends over at acidtactical.com, where you can find anything you need from lights, lasers, sights, and other things. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.